what you meant by that and how that was true for you.
I got a restraining order. I had to prove to a judge that I needed one. I had a bruise on my face. I got a restraining order. I showed pictures. I had proof, and yet everyone, the media, the studios that both Johnny and I worked for, they were ready to support him. They made statements in support of him. They were ready to fire me.
Objection, Your
attempted
Honor.
to fire me.
Hearsay.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
What, if anything, did you witness with respect to institutions?
Meaning the people that we work for, the institutions we work for, the studios we work for, decision makers in my industry, filmmakers and powerful people and decision makers within my industry whom I had not ever even met, who didn't know anything about what happened behind closed doors in the marriage of Johnny and I, were making comments about me, statements about me. I was dropped from campaigns. It was hard for me to work. I was harassed. I'm harassed on a daily basis, death threats, and just the fact that wasn't, there was no parity. The studio and these decision makers and such were so ready to support him and eager to
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection.
All right. So what, if any, ill will or bad intentions did you have or intend against Mr. Depp by assisting in writing, giving your name to this op-ed, and in publishing it?
None. It's not about Johnny. The only one who thought it was about Johnny is Johnny. It's about me. It's about what happened to me after Johnny. It's about what happened to me after I escaped my marriage. It was about me and my life and what I endured once I moved on and got a TRO and moved on with my life. It was about what happened to me after. The only one who made it about him, ironically, is Johnny.
I'm going to, we can take that down, Michelle. I'm going to turn to something about electronics and transparency. You've testified about, and we've seen photographs and audio recordings and text messages, emails, etc. What, if anything, have you done to cooperate in the authentication of all of these things?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Sure.
All right, I'm going to turn to your counterclaim. You have made a counterclaim against Mr. Depp in this case, correct?
That's correct.
And it's based on 3 statements that Mr. Adam Waldman, Mr. Depp's attorney, made, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask if you can pull up Defendant's Exhibit 245. But, Your Honor, I'm going to ask, do we have the...
It's already in evidence.
Your Honor, if we may approach
Okay,
just
sure.
real quickly, because I think we can move this along faster if we do this ahead of time. Start by bringing up Defendant's 1245.
All right, and moving that into evidence, no objection, 1245 in evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor. And this is an article that was in the Daily Mail on 8 April 2020. You see that? And then, Michelle, if you can move that to the next page. It says, Adam Waldman, Depp's lawyer said afterwards, Amber Heard and her friends in the media use fake sexual violence allegations as both a sword and a shield, depending on their needs. They have selected some of her sexual violence hoax facts as the sword, inflicting them on the public and Mr. Depp. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Is this a true or a false statement?
False.
And why is it false?
Well, you have to use what I've lived through and what I've survived. With this, I'm harming the public with this. This is what I've lived through, and to say that it's a hoax, that these aren't even real things. I mean, after everything I've lived through and survived, and also I hadn't even spoken about the sexual abuse within my marriage. I had been protective of that. I didn't want to talk about that ever. Adam Waldman was the one who put that out in the world. As remarkable as that is, I had protected that. I had to go to another country to give testimony, and thankfully they allowed me to do so with confidentiality and some protection. And then Johnny, through his lawyer, not only uses that against me, but says it's a hoax.
Thank you. Now I'm going to ask if we can bring up, and it's going to be 1246A. And I think I'm moving this into evidence as well.
There's no objection, so 1246A is in evidence. You can publish.
And this is an article that was published on the 28th of April, 2020. And Michelle, if we can, thank you. And this one says, Depp's lawyer, Adam Waldman, said, quite simply, this was an ambush, a hoax. They set Mr. Depp up by calling the cops. But the first attempt didn't do the trick, he told dailymail.com. And let's keep going. So Amber and her friends spilled a little wine and roughed the place up, got their stories straight under the direction of a lawyer and a publicist, and then placed a second call to 911. Do you see that?
Yes.
Is that true or false?
Couldn't be more false.
And why is that?
Every part of it is false. I didn't call 911. I didn't call the police. I refused to cooperate with them to protect Johnny. I protected Johnny. I didn't call them once and I didn't call them twice. I didn't rough up the place. I cleaned up the place. I didn't even know the second cops were coming. If I wanted to get something from him, if I wanted to hoax Johnny, why wouldn't I cooperate with the police? Wouldn't I say something to the police? Wouldn't I do more damage to the house and than just knock over the things that you saw pictures of? It makes no sense. And to do it online when there's no fact checking, there's no authorities, there's no one able to, I can't respond. I can't fight this and use these sorts of media leaks and these comments to re-echo over and over and over again online with a network of people that are intent on helping Johnny through a sophisticated PR machine.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay, speculation.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
All right. And so what, in fact, did you do that night?
I cleaned up. I protected Johnny. I refused to cooperate with the police, like so many other people do. I tried really hard to keep it private even after that, even when I was committed to filing for a divorce. I tried to protect Johnny. I tried to protect the history of what we had. I tried to protect him. And did the opposite. And I didn't even have a lawyer. I didn't call my publicist. I called my contract attorney to get me another lawyer who could give me advice on how to protect Johnny. Every bit of this was to protect Johnny and to protect the secret that I had fought really hard to keep for nearly 5 years, which was that behind closed doors, things were not what it looked like.
Okay. Michelle, can you take this one down and go to defendants 1247, please? And Your Honor, I'll move the admission.
All right. I know this.
And Amber, this is another daily, a Mail Online, and this is published on 24 June 2020. And then if we can go further. And this one says, Depp's attorney, Adam Waldman, said, "We have reached the beginning of the end of Ms. Heard's abuse hoax against Johnny Depp." Is this true or false?
False.
And why is it false?
Because, unfortunately, all of this is real. And what I mentioned earlier about how preposterous it would have for this to be this elaborate hoax, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't fathom one day that that would actually be legitimately the position that he, through a lawyer, would take, albeit online, where he could get away with it for some
Objection.
time.
Calls for...
And why is this so absurd?
Because Johnny and I lived this. We lived through this. I lived through this, and I narrowly survived it. But I survived it. And, you know, I have mountains of evidence, mountains of proof, and yet it won't be good enough for people who are seeking to make money off of Johnny's success.
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
I'll sustain the
That's
objection.
fine. Okay. So I'm going to take you now to the damages that you've suffered as a result of these statements by Mr. Waldman on Mr. Depp's behalf. Please tell the jury how you were doing reputationally.
Objection. That's a legal conclusion, Your Honor.
I'm sorry?
Move to strike counsel's testimony.
Come forward.